their fate hangs in the balance as an appellate court, which is all Trump, Trump, Trump. Yes, Donald Trump pulled 3 cherries straight across. 3 Trump-appointed judges in D.C. with the fate of 140 human beings who are being kept away from their due process rights by the Trump administration and are sitting in the dark, dank prisons and gulags of El Salvador, block another order by Judge Boasberg, the chief judge of the district court, who had ruled with a deadline of today that Donald Trump and his administration provide him with notice about
what happens when 3 judges, all appointed by the same guy, delay justice for 140 people sent out of the country without a fair trial. It's not just a legal twist, it's a human rights nightmare. Stick around as we break down this shocking ruling that raises the stakes for due process rights everywhere. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video.
I've got the order. I know the lineup. Let's get into it for Midas Touch and Legal AF. This case has been pending for the last several months, dating back to March, about how they plan on facilitating the habeas corpus and due process rights of more than 140 people that they shackled, threw on a plane in the middle of the night, and sent to El Salvador. I'm Michael Popak. We know it as JGG, everybody being kept anonymous, versus Donald Trump in his official capacity. Judge Boasberg has been presiding over that case. This is everyone not named Abrego Garcia, for those that are following at home.
Imagine waking up one morning, getting told to pack a bag, and being shoved onto a plane to a country you barely remember. No warning, no chance to challenge it. No lawyer asking questions about why you're being targeted. That's what happened to over 140 people during the Trump administration when they were deported to El Salvador. And this wasn't your standard immigration process. This was like legal dodgeball with human beings.
Not continue to whisk these human beings away from their federal rights of due process. And he made an order. And the judge made a determination on an earlier temporary restraining order back in March and in April that the plane should be grounded, that Donald Trump should not be allowed to exercise the Alien Enemies Act, and those orders were violated, and the judge moved into a contempt proceeding, and the judge then found on a probable cause that there was criminal contempt committed by the Trump administration.
Except everyone who got hit never stood a chance. Here's the kicker. These weren't just haphazard deportations. These individuals weren't even given proper legal hearings or advance notice to defend themselves. It was a fast track to danger. Now, if that sounds like a complete rejection of basic fairness, Judge James Boasberg thought so too. He stepped in and issued orders to stop these deportations, emphasizing one small thing. Well, small if you're the Trump administration, but massive for constitutional rights. The Fifth Amendment. That's the good old part of the Constitution that ensures no one can have their rights stripped away without due process. It's not just a legal formality, it's the backbone of any functioning justice system. To grasp how wild the situation was, picture this. You don't just deport someone, you're essentially putting them on a bus, driving them to a foreign country, and dropping them off with no map, no instructions, and no clue what happens next. That's not immigration policy. It's chaos designed to bypass accountability altogether. Boasberg smelled that chaos from a mile away. He didn't just demand a pause. He initiated contempt proceedings against Trump's team for blowing off his orders like they were just polite suggestions.
All these decisions that have come out in the last 3 months all stand for the same proposition. That people can be deported and people can be removed, but people need their due process rights and habeas corpus rights. And then with that order in place, the Trump administration ran to another panel of the D.C. Court of Appeals, and they stayed that order. Then we have the ruling from the United States Supreme Court on this side of the country before leaving the country by way of the Trump administration. And so based on those rulings, the American Civil Liberties Union ran back to Judge Boasberg in the JGG case again And
His frustration was palpable, but in a system like ours, one judge's determination can only go so far. Because, surprise, here comes the D.C. Court of Appeals. 3 Trump-appointed judges suddenly stepped in to say, "Not so fast," pressing pause on Boasberg's orders like they were DVRing justice. What does it mean when judges can just freeze accountability in its tracks? Let's find out. It gets messier. Just when you thought things couldn't spiral further, 3 Trump-appointed judges from the D.C. Court of Appeals stepped up and hit the brakes. Judges Katzmann, Rao, and Walker temporarily blocked Judge Boasberg's order, which would have forced the Trump administration to explain how it planned to uphold the rights of 140 deported individuals. Instead of accountability, we got another delay, a gift-wrapped win for Trump and a devastating blow for those stuck in El Salvador. Now, imagine being stranded in a place where your safety isn't just uncertain, it's actively threatened. That's the reality for these people. This ruling didn't just create a minor setback, it shoved over 140 lives into a blender of confusion, leaving them in limbo. Picture pausing a rescue mission mid-flight while survivors wait below, wondering if help is ever coming. That's what this ruling feels like for those sent away without any due process. Here's how this works. Appellate courts can issue procedural stays, which is just a fancy way of saying they can freeze earlier rulings while deciding what happens next. These stays aren't just short delays. They can drag things out for years. Legal expert Michael Popok warns the D.C. Court of Appeals might grant this stay without even hearing oral arguments. If that happens, the case might end up on the regular docket, potentially sidelining it for up to 2 years. Let that sink in. 2 years of legal limbo for individuals already torn from their lives. The stakes are immediate and crushing. By Monday, the ACLU has to respond to Trump's petition, and the administration's reply is due Wednesday. It's a tight schedule, but no matter how fast this part moves, delays are almost inevitable. The system, already sluggish, could stutter even further. And guess who's sitting on the panel? The same trio of Trump judges that seems to keep showing up on cases like this. Pattern? Coincidence? Hard to say, but the implications are glaring. When the system drags its heels this much, can it really call itself just? Let's unravel that thought next. This case isn't just about 140 people sent away without due process. It's a reality check for the kind of country we claim to be. Do we value individual rights, or do we let power bulldoze them whenever it's convenient? The answer isn't just written in courtrooms, it's written in who we appoint as judges, who we hold accountable, and how closely we pay attention. Support groups like the ACLU that are fighting this fight in real time. Their work matters, and as the ACLU and Trump officials prepare their next moves, the stakes couldn't be higher. Justice, delayed or not, deserves your attention.